Hi Ross, hi Tom. I'm Sarah from The Upcoming.
Hi,
Yeah,
Sarah.
Thanks so
How are you
much for
doing?
taking the time to speak with us.
no worries. It's nice.
Shame we can't meet in person, but virtually
Yeah.
is second best.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It's been an interesting day.
So maybe we could just kick off for people who don't know anything about Wolfwalkers. Can you give us a brief introduction and what can they expect when they come and see the film?
You go, Ross.
Wolfwalkers is a tale. Well, it took us quite a few years to make, 7 years since the story and 3 years in production, and it's a tale of when the hunter becomes the hunted, and how friendship can cross divides. How when you step in the shoes of your enemy, suddenly they might not be your enemy anymore. They can be your friend. So it's a story of family of ragtaggled people who would be enemies coming together and helping each other.
And what inspired you to, take us to the 17th century and tell us this tale, kind of like steeped in Irish folklore?
I think it's in 17th century, like in Ireland especially, there was such conflict. There was an era of puritanical rules coming in and wiping out not just species but an older way of life. So there's huge conflict there. So there's a huge realm for storytelling.
And thinking about your process, you've got a very sort of traditional style of animation in lots of ways. How do you feel like that's developed from Song of the Sea and The Breadwinner, and how do you see that fitting in with the broader landscape of animation? I mean, if you think of a lot of the stuff we see in the mainstream post Shrek, it's very much computer generated.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to you to kind of have it as this kind of art form that you make it?
I feel like we started the studio in the late 90s, early 2000s, and we were really in reaction in a lot of ways to going and working on those movies. A lot of our compatriots that we'd studied with were going into video games and CG animation, and we were trying to see what more could be done with hand-drawn. How could we continue what hand-drawn does and see what hand-drawn does differently? And what I think is also an interesting comparison is like when photography came in, look what happened to painting. You kind of got expressionism, impressionism, and that's what we sort of felt. We said, like, let's not try and keep doing what we used to do before computers come in, but let's use computers to help us push what hand-drawn can do into different directions. And this is probably the most expressive one we've done, using the most like brush strokes and pencil drawing to show what's going on for the characters. So we don't just put a clean line on, because now even a computer can do that. Now we're really trying to show the artist's hand. And I think that brings something different. We're offering something different than just another CG project that tries to look like Pixar,
Mm. And thinking about the cast you have for your voiceovers, with Honor Neevesy and Eva Whittaker, as well as, of course, Sean Bean. How do you go about casting these people? And I guess it's a whole different set of skills, really, doing voiceover than traditional acting. So how do you work with them to make sure it fits with your vision?
Yeah, we're lucky, I guess.
Yeah, we worked with Louise Keeley casting to find these people, but some of them, like Sean Bean, he was like top of our dream list, from the early stages of designing the characters. Like we had him in mind when we were designing it. But then Louise helped us find the actors like Eva and Honor. Honor had done quite a few professional jobs before, but Eva hadn't, and so we kind of took a chance on Eva because her casting tape, she had so much energy and so much personality, and she had this husky voice that kind of made it sound like she'd been shouting all her life. So yeah, like
maybe she had been.
Yeah, maybe she had been. You'd have to ask her parents about that one. But yeah, we were really lucky to be able to get the people that we got. I mean, like people like Simon McBurney, and Sean Bean, they're like very, very famous and very high profile. So we were lucky to get them, definitely.
And, might look at animated films and think they're kind of just for kids, but, it does touch on lots of really interesting themes, kind of environmentalism, the idea of freedom, oppression, this concept kind of, if something can't be tamed, it needs to be destroyed. So what do you think are the themes that come out of the film for you, and why was it important for you to tell that story?
Yeah, even since I was a kid, I never felt that just for kids was a bad thing. I always felt that if you're speaking to children, you have a responsibility to talk about something important. I mean, they're the next generation coming up, and you don't want to just distract them or advertise toys to them or something. So we kind of felt that if we were making a movie for families with a focus on young people, we wanted to touch on themes that we felt were going to be of a concern to that generation. And they're inheriting a pretty fractured world right now. And so we kind of wanted to talk to that and speak to that and show, as Ross was saying earlier, that the other point of view isn't the other or the enemy, but that it's possible to cross huge like divisions that adults have. Kids are able to make friends across those divisions. So that was probably the core of it, was the fact that Robin and Maeve, from completely different backgrounds, true magical transformation, of course, but hopefully in the real world, you're able to see the other person's point of view and understand each other and be friends despite all those ideological differences in the background of the adult world. So yeah, I think
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like
important.
some of the stories that were most powerful for me as a child, you know, like Roald Dahl books and Tom McCaughrean books, and that they had like very adult you know, themes and messages in it. And it's important, you know, for not just kids to learn those, but for also for adults to learn those. So you know, the whole family should be able to get something out of
Discuss it.
from it.
Yeah, yeah.
And not to get too deep into politics, but do you feel like it's interesting to be putting a film out in this particular moment? I mean, not just what we've got going on with the pandemic, but of course with Brexit and you know, the border in Ireland and all that kind of thing. Like, does that sort of feel like it's in the background for you?
Yeah, and I'm sad to say that for 7 years, these themes have become more and more relevant. And whether it's political ideology and people feeling really divided and feeling not able to see the other point of view, or whether it's species extinction or environmental issues, or you know, all these issues, are, you know, forests are being set on fire, indigenous people are being wiped out, and all these issues are out there. And it's sad how prescient the themes that we were working with are now.
And there's also like the big strong men autocrats, you know, trying to stoke up fears and trying to control society through like fear and rules, you know. Yeah, it's not getting better since we came up with the idea. It's still as relevant as ever.
And I think that's all the more reason that we need to speak to kids about this, you know, with a bit of hope, you know, with a consider, because there's an awful lot of fear monger, like there's an awful lot of stuff going out there stoking up the fear, you know, and the otherness. So hopefully we can bring something a little bit conciliatory to the table, you know.
It's lovely to speak to you both, and congratulations on that beautiful, wonderful film.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah.
Cheers. Have a good day. Bye.